wife and her parents want me to have a child with her, but they made it clear that my stepson will never be their real grandchild. I, 28 male, got drunk at a friend's wedding and a woman, Anna 39F, whom I had rejected multiple times throughout the night, ended up forcing herself on me while I was nearly passed out. It was a whole mess and I fell into a deep depression. Things got worse when Anna showed up at my door after a few weeks saying she was pregnant. I begged her to have an abortion and leave me alone, but my dad and stepmother welcomed her into our house like nothing had happened. I never wanted to have kids, so when this happened I was clear with Anna that I didn't want anything to do with her, but I'd pay child support. I also cut contact with my dad for supporting her. After a few months, my son was born and Anna just disappeared. Nobody knew where she went or they didn't want to tell me. My dad also refused to help because I had cut him off, so I was on my own. To be honest, I fell in love with my baby right away. Seeing him fight to survive and then holding him in my arms was the happiest moment of my life. And while it was hard, I made it work, just the two of us. Then, 3 years ago I met my wife Claire, 26F. We dated for 1 year and have been married for 2. Even when we were just dating she was always perfect and she adored my son Archie, 5M now. She would play with him and read him stories and never said anything bad about him. She knew what had happened, but she was so loving and understanding, and I thought I had won the lottery by meeting her. The same happened when I met Claire's family. Everyone was so welcoming and they loved Archie so much. They offered to babysit him and even took him on vacation so Claire and I could have a weekend to ourselves. A few weeks ago I told Claire that I wanted to have a vasectomy so we could have a better sex life. She asked me if I was really sure, and when I said yes she got very quiet and changed the subject. Now, even before we got married I was very clear that I didn't want any more children. At the time she said she was fine with that because we already had Archie. I knew she was upset, so I brought it up constantly until she finally admitted that she was hoping I'd changed my mind so we could have another child. Claire said she understood why I didn't want kids in the first place due to my childhood, but that I had become a perfect dad to Archie and I'd be a perfect dad for our second child too. She also said she had asked him if he wanted a little brother or sister and he had been very excited about it. I got upset when she said this and accused her of trying to manipulate my son, so we ended up having a big fight about it. The next day she apologized, but she still wanted me to think it over. She said she'd support me no matter what I decided, but that this was important to her. I told her that I was hurt because she had never mentioned this before and she just said that she was allowed to change her mind. Finally, she told me that we should talk with her parents so I could hear from them before making a decision. I admit I freaked out because I didn't want to discuss my sex life with my in-laws, but she assured me that she had just told them because they were close and she was looking for advice on how to bring it up to me. Anyway, last night we had dinner with her parents. We visit them every other Thursday since that's my Phil's day off, and it was a disaster. I explained how I'd never wanted kids until Archie was born and how even then he was the exception. For their part, they told me how much Claire wanted to have a child of her own and how this could be good for all of us. Where things got messy was when they said they wanted to have their first grandchild. I told them that Claire and I had been talking about her adopting Archie, and my mill said but he still wouldn't be my real grandson. They also said how they loved my son but they couldn't love him like a real family member because they were not related by blood. Finally, my wife said she was having second thoughts about the adoption because Archie already had a mom and she didn't think she'd be able to bond with him like a real mother, so that's also why she wanted to have a child of her own. I was devastated, but I didn't want to make a scene in front of my in-laws, so I just told them I'd think about it and to give me some time. So now I'm sitting at home thinking that I don't really know Claire. I didn't know she felt this way about my son and wondering if she had been pretending all this time. If we have another kid, I believe she and her family will just ignore Archie in favor of their real grandchild. And if we don't have another child, I fear she will just resent us or even become abusive towards my son. But at the same time, I don't want to throw away an otherwise perfect relationship and I really love Claire. Would I be the if I divorced my wife over this? I don't know if I'm overreacting or if this relationship can be saved. Any advice would also be welcome since I don't have anyone else I can talk to right now. Edit. Thanks everyone for the comments. I haven't been able to reply to everyone, but I'd like to answer some questions. 1. Did I talk to my wife about not having children before we got married? Yes, we had the discussion at least 3 times and she always mentioned she was okay with it. 2. Do I treat her like a nanny or there is money involved? No. I earn more than she does, but she still has a good job. She does work from home, but Archie is still in daycare because I want him to socialize with other children and I didn't want her work to be affected by having to look after a toddler all the time. 3. Will I get therapy? I've had a therapist for 4 years now. Archie is also in therapy. 4. Why didn't I have a vasectomy years ago? I got no excuses here. I'm just an idiot. 5. Why did I get married after only 1 year of dating? We were both in love and Rushi into things. I'm also an idiot for this, apparently. 6. Did I get a DNA test? WTF? I didn't get a paternity test right away when he was born because I didn't care. I had already put my name on his birth certificate and after Anna left I just wanted to take care of him. I did eventually get a paternity test done. Spoiler alert, he is mine, but it was mostly for legal purposes since I wanted to take him out of the country for a job opportunity. 7. What happened to Anna? Who knows? I never heard from her after she left. My dad said he didn't know anything, and my friends from the wedding said they didn't know where she went either. 8. Did I report Anna? I tried. Unfortunately, I grew up in a country with some outdated ideas and I wasn't taken seriously by the police. Finally, I know that my in-laws were biased and that they would take Claire's side. I knew that when I agreed to have dinner with them, but I genuinely wanted to know if there was something Claire wasn't telling me. I was, and still am, confused and full of doubts about the whole kids thing, so I wanted to understand where she was coming from and what she was feeling. I just never imagined they felt the way they did about my son. Update 1. I was happy to see so many people sharing their own experiences as step-parents or stepchildren and those who tried to put themselves in my wife's shoes. It gave me a new perspective and that helped a lot. I also saw some people asking for an update, so here it is. Since Archie plays football every Saturday, I asked a friend of us, whose son is also on the team, if she could look after Archie for a while. I wanted to have this conversation with Claire without my son present in case we started arguing again, so we just headed home to Tall after the game ended. I know a lot of people said I should just divorce my wife both to protect my son and to let her move on, but, please don't be mad at me, when we sat down to talk I wasn't ready to give up on my marriage just yet. At that moment I was willing to compromise with Claire about a second child as long as we got couples therapy to address her and her family's feelings towards Archie. Even after the initial fight, when I said I wanted a vasectomy, I was mostly confused about what to do since I just wanted my family to be happy. Anyway, I started by asking her to explain why and when she had changed her mind. Claire started to apologize right away and she told me that she had always dreamed of having a big family. She said that she tried to convince herself that she could accept not having children because she really loved me and she also loved Archie. She admitted to lying when I had asked her about it because she didn't want to break up and she felt I was giving her an ultimatum of either choosing having kids or choosing me. I never intended it to be one, I just didn't think it was fair for any of us to be in a relationship if our goals didn't align. She also admitted that she had always been hoping I would change my mind once I saw what an excellent mom she was to Archie. What surprised me the most is that apparently my mill tried to convince her not to get married because it wasn't fair of her to expect me to change. Claire also told me it was Mill's idea to babysit Archie and do all those things together so my wife could bond with him and get used to the idea that he may end up being our only child. When I asked her why her mom had made the comments about blood being important, Claire said she had asked her parents to say that to convince me why it was important for her to have her own kids. I told her how hurt I had been by what they said and also when she told me she had changed her mind about the adoption. Claire said she was just scared that one day Archie would want to reconnect with his birth mother and that he wouldn't love her anymore. Apparently she had been reading a lot of stories from other step-parents who had been cast aside, especially when the birth parents show up again or if there was a divorce involved. Her anxiety got worse around a year ago. According to Claire, she had always introduced herself as Archie's stepmom when she picked him up from the daycare because she didn't want to take Anna's place. I lost my patience and reminded her that Anna had abandoned us so there was no place to take. At this point we started arguing and going in circles. She accused me of not understanding how hard it is to be a step-parent and I told her she was fighting against windmills. After we calmed down a bit, she told me she got even more scared of being replaced when Archie started asking about his mom. She also felt guilty because she was sure he only asked because she kept correcting everyone about the whole mother/stepmother thing. She also said I made it worse because I didn't tell him the truth about Anna and tried to sugarcoat things by telling him that his mom felt guilty because he had been born very sick and she didn't want to see him suffer. Honestly, I just didn't know what to tell him because I didn't want him to feel sad about being abandoned. Claire accused me of still caring about Anna, WTF, and that's why I didn't want to paint her in a bad light. When I told her I just panicked and made up a lie in that moment, she said I should have just refused to answer and take Archie to a therapist. We did get him one the same month. That's when Claire said I should have tried to find Anna so we could have split custody and Archie could be with his real mom. I admit I lost it and started yelling at her that Anna was just a horrible person and that if it were up to me she'd never see Archie. She had SA'd me, she had tried to manipulate me when she got pregnant, she had abandoned my son right after he was born and, after all these years, she had never bothered to reach out. Claire yelled back saying I couldn't understand what a woman goes through and that maybe she left because of PPD and that I made it worse by just giving up and moving to another country where Anna couldn't find me. I said that wasn't the reason why we left and she knew it. I also told her how everyone who knew me back home had NIN contact information and my address so it's not like I was hiding. What finally broke me is that she said it was my fault that Anna left because I refused to step up and do the right thing by marrying Anna. She tried to apologize right away and said she didn't mean it but I just told her to leave and that I wanted a divorce. I'm ashamed to admit it but I just locked myself in Archie's room and started to cry like a baby until she left. She just packed some stuff and later sent me a text saying she'd be staying with her parents. The rest of the day was a blur. I went to pick up my son and briefly told NY friend I was getting a divorce. She and her wife hugged me and told me they would support us in any way they could, especially if I needed someone to look after Archie. I spent the rest of the day with him and we decided to have a pijamada, just the two of us. We ordered pizza, played with his new toys and watched some movies until he fell asleep. Since I can't sleep, I thought I'd write this update to vent or something. I feel like my life just imploded and I'm so heartbroken. I don't even know how Archie is gonna take it, so that's also gonna be hard. Now on to second story. Daughter's wedding invitation includes a note specifying that I would be babysitting all the children in a separate room. I was so happy to see a wedding invitation in my mailbox. I pulled it out and a little note fell out on an index card, but I looked at the invitation first. It was truly beautiful and I immediately stuck it to my fridge like the work of art it was. It was addressed to my husband and me and I was beyond stoked. I love weddings. I tend to get teary-eyed and smile until my face hurts at the joy of new beginnings and all the love. I was even a wedding singer, that's how much I love them. I picked up THE note card and read that, and while my husband was invited, I'd be in another room helping to babysit all the children there with several other female invitees. There's a special room for children at the church and that's where I'd be. For everything. I'd still need to dress for a wedding in case I wind up in any photos, but I'd be taking my reception meal with the children and I'd be with all the kids for the ceremony. Then there was a link for their gift registry. Oh, and the meals for my husband and myself would be $100 each, and we have a link to pay it when we digitally RSVP. The first problem here is that I am disabled at 50 years old. Legally. I use oxygen. I use a walker when I need to walk long distances. I sometimes have to give up the walker entirely and use a wheelchair. I'm not proud of it, but there it is. I could happily sit in a room and look at kids, but I'd be pretty useless to prevent a fall or stop a child from choking or anything else that would require me to move quickly. Second, my husband isn't the one who has been friends with these people since childhood. I am. Why would he be invited to watch the ceremony and be part of the reception but not me? My husband said he'd happily watch the kids and let me attend the wedding and reception, but the invitation specified that only other female invitees would be watching the kids, so I doubt they'd let him. Is this a normal thing at weddings now? Do you pick guests to babysit other guests' children? Should I call them up and explain my health situation even though they already know it and visit me during my multiple hospitalizations a year? I hate having to pull the health card, but honestly, what were they thinking? I confess that I feel offended and hurt that I'm nothing more than a babysitter to them who is expected to pay for my supper and babysit for free. Would I be wrong to simply tell them we won't be able to attend and to find another sitter? And if we don't go, do we STILL send a gift? I know these folks because my mom, RIP, mom, and the bride's grandma were besties. So, I grew up with the bride's mom as an almost sister to me. We went to school together, graduated together, worked at the same place twice, and have been super close since. The bride is like a goddaughter. At least I thought she was. I'm gobsmacked here. The church where they are getting married is a Southern Baptist church. They aren't members. None of us are overly religious. They just liked the venue and booked it. I've never been inside, but it's lovely on the outside, and apparently, it has a childcare room that is big enough for a bunch of women and kids to hole up comfortably for a wedding and reception. We're all American. The groom's family is related to my family via marriage, and the bride and groom met at my house at a cookout a few years ago. I've always been way closer to the bride's family, though. I knew that there had been a proposal. I got FaceTimed about 10 minutes after it happened, and my husband and I cried and laughed and wished them well and oohed and awed over their story and the ring. I was expecting an invitation, sure. But not like this. The last time I had lunch with the bride's mom, she told me they're inviting around 200 people, so it'll be a large wedding with, I'm assuming, a ton of children. No, I don't hate kids. I love kids. I would have loved to have kids of my own, but my body just wouldn't do it. It took 2 miscarriages and a stillbirth to finally make me accept that it wouldn't happen for us. We are in the process of adopting 2 young adults that we brought into our home when we found out they were kicked out and homeless at 18. They've lived with us for years and we're making it legal. They call us mom and pop and we're a family. I'm still considering my options. I've started and deleted multiple emails to the bride's mom. I'm a raw nerve right now and my tone isn't the kindest. I want to keep it all in writing, so there can be no he said/she said. I plan to ask if they incorrectly sent me the note about babysitting, since they know I physically cannot do that. But every inception of the email led with "Oof, Donna?" Update 1. I spoke to my friend, the mother of the bride, and I'm pretty upset. I've been bawling for most of the day. She called and said that they were getting a lot of backlash from the wedding guests. No one wants to pay $100 for dinner and only 3 of the women asked were okay with babysitting. I told her I understood that the guests were upset because it's just tacky to 1, be asked to pay, and 2, be told you are invited but only to babysit. I told her I would not be a babysitter. At all. No. Just no. She got mad and brought up how we were lifelong friends. She said I'd be helping them more by babysitting than I'd be helping by simply sitting in a pew watching. I reminded her that I couldn't physically help at all due to, being legally disabled. She said they completely understood that and expected me to simply supervise the other sitters since they trusted me most. Again, I told her that I felt it was insulting to be voluntold, thanks, Reddit, for that word, that I'd be babysitting and that I had no desire to do that, especially not dressed in formal wear. Then we got to the truth. She said that she didn't know if I'd be in a wheelchair that day or require a walker. That's fair. I don't always know which one I'll need. She said that they wanted everyone in pews for the wedding video and me sitting in a wheelchair would make me stick out and ruin video/photos. I said, if I need a wheelchair that day then I can move to a pew and my husband can put the wheelchair in another room or back in our car. I may not even need it that day. Then she says, well, space is limited in the pews. You would take up the space of 2 people with your purse and oxygen tank. I said, no, I would not. I wouldn't bring a purse in and the oxygen tank either sits on my lap or between my feet. It's like a little backpack. Then she said, well, having you and oxygen in the photos would be distracting from the other people. And there you have it. Words were exchanged and she hung up on me. I haven't been removed from any social media yet, but I fully expect to be. I already feel awful for being this way at only 50 years old. I didn't choose this. I didn't want this. If she thinks it's awful to having it photographed, just imagine living with it. Which is what I told her before she hung up on me. I'm devastated. Just devastated. Update 2. I'm not in the greatest headspace. I don't think I've ever been less okay, honestly. I did not register to RSVP or communicate with them further. Until, another invitee got in touch with me and said that the mother of the bride, a person I thought of as basically my sister, was bad-mouthing me into the ground. I explained my side and our mutual friend was livid. They told the mother of the bride and the bride that they were wrong to want to exclude me because I might or might not need a wheelchair and would have oxygen on my face. I could remove the oxygen for photos, they told her. So, the mother of the bride sent me a message saying, and I quote, well, if you're going to be butthurt about the aesthetic we want to achieve and try to turn other guests against us, then you can f***ing come and sit in a pew. But not in photos. And we'll try to get the videographer to do edits to the wedding vid, too. But I won't forget how you made this difficult for us. I replied, how did I make it difficult other than existing? She replied, you clearly told about what I told you regarding your wheelchair and oxygen. And she's telling everyone else. We're getting a ton of hate, I said. She asked me if I was attending and I told her no and explained why. I didn't lie to her. I told her exactly what you said. You didn't tell me not to tell anyone your reasons. If they're valid reasons to you, then you shouldn't care who knows. So, I'm now blocked. By the bride, the mom, the dad, and the groom. A friendship I've had my entire life is over. A goddaughter that I helped nurture and care for is just gone now. We paid for the bride's car insurance, gas, and cell phone all through high school and college because we wanted her focused on just her studies and not a part-time job. Her parents got her a car but insisted she work, but her grades fell when she did and we helped her, and this is how they thank us. This is how they repay our kindness. I guess I'm a great friend when I'm giving money, but I'm not good enough to be seen. I've felt like a burden my whole life and this has set me back so far. I'm just not okay. Update 3. Apparently, my post went sort of viral because it was on Fox News and a site called Bored Panda. A few mutual friends reached out and asked if it was me and I admitted that it was. They were told something completely different about the situation. The bride's mother told them that I refused to come because of my health difficulties and that I was afraid I would ruin the wedding and decline the RSVP. She even claimed that she had been begging me to attend ever since the engagement happened, which was a bold-faced lie. I am the one who organized and paid for the after-engagement party so they could announce the happy news to everyone, and I was clear to everyone that I couldn't wait to attend the wedding. So, I sent screenshots, photos of the invitation, and the note card telling me I'd be babysitting, and then the showdown where I was told I could sit in the pew and just be edited out of the video and would not be in any photos. I also posted it on Facebook and shared receipts there, too. Well, World War III has officially commenced. Granted, I'm getting this all third and fourth hand, but here's the latest. Word has spread fast. Links to the news article have made it all over the place, and I've been told that the FAW ladies who had agreed to babysit have backed out and asked if there was something wrong with them that would make them not fit to sit in the pews or be in photos. And I think that's probably the case since 2 of them have unnatural hair coloring and the other has facial piercings. The church that was booked as the venue has been notified, and I'm hearing it's probably not going to happen there because the pastor's daughter is wheelchair bound after a car accident. He was going to officiate, but now he says he's conflicted about it and the message it would send. My ex-friend and the bride have blown up my husband's phone because I blocked them after this went public. They blocked me first on all of the social media spots, and he let it go on for a few days to see what they had to say. He has blocked them, but the bulk of it is that I'm jealous that I was never blessed with any children of my own, so that's why I'm ruining this for them. I'm hateful and vile and vindictive because I hate them for their clear health. I mentioned that the groom is related to me by marriage, right? That whole branch of the family tree has now divided itself with some on my side and some on the bride's side. The groom hasn't contacted us at all, but his mother did and told me that I was wrong for sharing personal business and that I need to let the bride have her wedding how she wants it. I don't agree that I did anything wrong here. I can't help that I'm sick. They've made me feel like utter trash that should just be tossed into the landfill. I hurt. I literally ache because of this. So, hi Donna, my ex-best friend and practical sister. If you're reading this, you devastated me. I'm not okay. I don't know that I'll ever be okay again. I invested time and money into both you and your daughter. I gave you both a home when your marriage was messed up and never charged you rent or asked for help with groceries or utilities. For over a year, you lived in our home and we paid your way, so you are wrong to treat me this way. My oxygen mask and possible need for a wheelchair should be the last thing on either of your minds, because what matters most is that I, feeling as bad as I normally do, was still going to put on my best dress, make myself look presentable, plant a smile on my face through my pain, and show up for you like I always have. But I never, ever will again. If people noticed me in your photos at all, it would have been because I had the biggest and most proud of anyone there, and they'd see the love I had for you radiating off the image. You will regret this one day when I'm gone and you realize that there are more important things in life than a perfect photo.